So I definitely wanted to get a little bit of info about Screen Violence. You guys recorded this whole thing kind of remotely. It was, very strange time, strange way to record an album. So if you guys want, you can talk a little bit about, the recording process, how it was kind of doing it on opposite sides of the world pretty much. But yeah, what do you guys think?
Well, it was definitely, there was a lot of challenges to overcome. The thing that I'm really grateful for is that we managed to have a couple of weeks right at the start of, like, really near the start of the process where we were all in the same place. And that kind of gave us a good start to sort of get the momentum going and sort of like triangulate where we were all at. And then I had to go back home to the UK because of the border shutting down and all that stuff. And then it was a case of, okay, how are we going to do this, And then it became a sort of like sort of trial and error, trying out different sort of audio sharing software and screen sharing software. And yeah, we eventually got our momentum going and had a good sort of stretch of about 6 months where we were sort of like producing the songs and working them up. And then to bookend the process, last sort of September, October, we managed to get together again and mix the album together. So that was a really great way to sort of end that process. But it definitely had its challenges, let's say, yeah.
Very cool. So you guys kind of started it together, branched off a little bit, and then sort of came back together for the end of the album. Did you initially plan actually to release it, work on this album, and then release it throughout 2020? Or was this always intended for 2021?
I think it was always intended for 2021. We were supposed to have a small bit of touring summer 2020, but for the most part, we were supposed to be off-road and working on a record. So we were very fortunate in that regard. Like, I feel that it was very different for artists who were trying to release music and had planned conventional campaigns last year. But yes, our plan was always that this year was going to be when it would come out. And I guess the timeline shifted a little as you're kind of reacting to things. But yeah, we were pretty fortunate.
Wonderful. That's great. But yeah, so now looking back, it's been 10 years since you guys formed. Which is that's a long time. So, how has the process kind of changed over the last 10 years for you three? And do you have any specific highlights that you guys think about when you're looking back on the last 10 years?
I don't know. It feels really weird that it's been 10 years because I don't think we were really thinking about that before we started doing promo and people started pointing that out. Because in my mind, I think it'll feel like 10 years, maybe like once the anniversary of the first album comes around or something. Maybe then it'll feel more normal. But yeah, it's pretty bizarre. I'm sure that most people feel like that about their lives, but it feels like it's been, I don't really remember not being in the band in terms of how I feel in my day to day, but I also can't, it feels like it's been 2 days. Like I can't tell. But yeah, we're really fortunate to still be doing it. And I do feel like everyone, like the band and the music and the way that we all work has evolved in a way that feels very positive. And yeah, if you make the same record over and over and over and over again, even if people really liked that record the first time, they're not going to like it the fourth time, the fifth time. So I feel like it's been important just to see where the wind takes us. And I think that's a good way to approach things. It's harder to approach your actual life like that, but I think it's easier, maybe easier to approach music like that, hopefully.
It's been so many highlights over the years. I always think of like one of the early ones was getting to play with Depeche Mode. We did 4 shows with them in Europe, but we were talking about this between us this week, and actually it was a horror show, just in terms of like how unprepared we were to play stadiums, to 60,000 people in Europe. It's like we were just babies. This was before the album even came out, so like we were still trying to figure out how to actually run a show, let alone sort of communicate to that many people. So it's kind of a trial by fire in ways, and I think we just escaped with the skin of our teeth. But it was exciting, no question about that, and a real honor to play with those guys. I'm a big fan.
I think that in a way, the not that we didn't know the stakes, like how high the stakes were in certain things, but I think because we were so busy and like just going and going and going, there wasn't really a ton of time I knew when I should be nervous about things, which was basically constantly, but I guess there wasn't that much time to sit and dwell on things. So like with the Depeche Mode stuff, I remember being really, really nervous, but not like we just had to get it done. And we were like, oh, we have to figure out how to get there and where we're going to stay and how we're going to get from show to show. And it was almost better to be a bit more naive, if that makes sense. Like now I think 10 years into it, 33-year-old me would know, is more able to understand the gravity of certain things. And I think it's maybe good. I think I was just constantly living in the panic of just don't fuck up. Whereas now I think I would be like, don't fuck up, like really don't fuck this up. And that would be harder, maybe. I don't know. The innocence and naivety of relative youth, I guess.
Wonderful. Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I can see you guys, of course, headlining your own stadium shows pretty soon. I mean, you already have pretty much. But yeah, kind of looking forward a little bit. How are you guys feeling about the North American tour that's coming up, starting in November, ending in December? I think it's going to be a great time. I'm hoping to catch you guys at Terminal 5, which I believe that's where you are in New York. Yeah, how are you guys feeling about getting back on the road and touring again?
I'm very excited. I'm really hopeful that we can make those shows happen safely. And yeah, I feel like touring has always been such an important part of CHVRCHES. From what we've done in this band and what bands we've been in previously, it always just felt like, you know, doing the miles on the road and seeing people face to face has been such an important part of it. And it's definitely always felt like CHVRCHES is the three of us as the nucleus, but it's also a very like fan driven, community based thing. Like the first shows that we played in America were sold out. That was fucking insane to me. I'd never played a show. I played like one show outside of the UK ever in another band, and that was it. And then we got to, I remember getting to San Francisco and our first show was sold out and people knew the words to the songs and there wasn't a record out, there wasn't anything. And that, yeah, people have always been very kind to us and like embraced the band in that way. So yes, it feels important to us that we can get back to doing that whenever we can and keep the fans safe and make sure that everything is workable.
I really think that these new songs as well are going to translate super well live. You know, there's a lot more sort of I don't know, they just feel more kind of rocking in a way that will lend themselves well to the live arena. So yeah, super excited to sort of breathe some life into them.
That'll be great. I reckon you guys are still taking a drummer on tour as well, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, we'll get him out of his lair and he'll come with.
I loved, for the last tour, having a live drummer was it felt like such a big difference to the set. It was so much more, like drum focused, which, was really, really exciting. Very, very interesting for you guys. So looking forward to that. So kind of thinking of, back to the last year and a half, we were all stuck at home. I'm sure you guys were very busy working on the album, but what were some of your pandemic go-tos? Any movies that you dove into, TV shows, albums that you really liked?
Well, I feel like the person with the most useful hobbies was probably Martin, because he was like doing a lot of writing and doing a lot of that kind of stuff anyway, but then started building guitar pedals, which I do not understand. Whenever you would explain it to me, I would be like, what are you talking about? I don't know how that works.
There was about, I guess, 4-ish songs on the album were written during downtime in the pandemic. So, like when we weren't working together. So my natural habitat is just to go straight to the studio. And I had been building a lot of equipment and I had put the studio together before the pandemic hit. So I guess it was writing was a natural product of learning, like when I made this new pedal, so I'm going to try it out. Oh, cool, I just written a song. And that was like, I guess that happened. I realized that the other day that Nightmares and Lullabies were written in the same week, maybe in consecutive days. And whilst Lauren did the lyrics, which really, really cool, there's like a kind of a proper light and shade to them. It kind of like, if you look at the starts on the album, most of them came from like something that I'd done. They're like up and down, like the mood of a human being, and then so the lyrics are broad and up and down like the mood of a human being, and it kind of like it makes for a more authentic experience, right? Because it's not an album full of, oh, we're just gonna like try and confuse people and write a really weird album or a really dark album or a really happy album, which would make no sense. It would just be like, oh no, this is the sum of how these people were feeling. It was kind of interesting to me. Like the pandemic, I say a lot. It's not a pandemic album. It's just not. Like half the songs were written before the pandemic, like even the starts. But there's no question that that period in time has an effect on what you do. You wouldn't be writing from the heart if it didn't, especially lyrically. Like I can't speak on that, but I can hear it in Lauren's lyrics when she says like that a song about not wanting to die in California. I'm like, oh, that's a really cool, like universal kind of thing that every failed actor can relate to. But if you take it down to like brass tacks, it's also like, oh, I'm trapped in California right now and I can't get back to Glasgow, and I know that.
Yes.
And maybe it's coming from there, but when it translates out into the world, it's not like that at all. It says something really different, and I think that's kind of cool.
Well, and I like that the lyrics of California are probably the most literal to myself and Martin, who were in Los Angeles for the entirety of the summer lockdown, and we're removed from our friends and our families. And it is, I'm sure loads of people had that same experience where like there's an extra layer of that anxiety where you're like, well, what if it seems quite realistic that something really fucking terrible could happen to you or to your family and to the people that you love, and you can't get there. You can't do anything about it. Even if you did get there, what can you really do about it? But it's like isolation within isolation feels quite weird. But I feel like for everybody else, California is a metaphor. But for us, it's quite literal. I'm like, we might actually fucking die here. For what?
It's a song about like failing at chasing your dreams. Like some people should go home. Some people should give up. Like there's definitely be times when I thought that I should give up. Like that's a really relatable piece about like actually you're missing. There is a chance that you are missing life in favor of chasing this fucking insane dream that you're going to become the next Beyonce or whatever, and that's like, and it's so unrealistic, and it's an unusual thing to hear people writing about. So I thought the concept of that song was really fucking cool for that reason.
Thanks. Oh, thank you.
That's true.
I mean you guys did all the rest of it, but I appreciate it. I'm like, oh yeah, I did my little salt sprinkle at the end. I'm like,
little salt sprinkle my ass.
This is what people do. You know the whole thing where like people say, I don't listen to lyrics. I don't think that's true. I think some people don't notice lyrics if they're just fine or if they're good. But if they're bad and they really don't make sense in the context of the song, people really do notice lyrics, and it can like turn people off as quickly as you would turn people on. And it's like, or if they're really, people notice really bad and really good lyrics.
Yes, totally.
And then some lyrics in the middle, yeah, okay, those do wash over people, and they're just like songs on the radio. And what the fuck does XYZ actually mean? Who cares? Doesn't matter. I like the song. I get it. But if your lyrics are really good, Elliott Smith, Bright Eyes, Leonard Cohen, or if your lyrics are really bad, insert 100 bands. People
I thought you were gonna name it. I was like, oh,
I'm ready too.
Like people.
Let's do it.
And people really do notice that, and a great lyricist can make your band bigger or smaller. That's the whole thing. That's what's so vital about that part of the art form. Otherwise,
and then
you wouldn't get 50% of the money.
Yeah,
it's words and music.
And then there's the anomaly of bands that have the worst fucking lyrics whenever, that just seem to be getting bigger and bigger and playing stadiums. It's like, what the hell are people thinking?
Well, I guess I remember working in like a fancy restaurant when I was younger, and the head of the wait staff being like, you should be unseen. If you're doing your job well, you're totally unseen. So maybe that's like the job of like the workhorse is like, if people aren't noticing you in a good way or a bad way, then that's like a decent day at work. But if people are like, outstanding, excellent service, then you're like, yes, I got that. I did a really great job that night. I went above and beyond.
Oh, how depressing.
It just makes me think
I was a really
of,
bad waitress, though, so there you go. I was always noticeable in one way or another, unless it's dropping stuff on people or helping them find their credit card or whatever, you know. I was not good at being unseen.
it makes me think of like Joy Division or whatever, like those, how important those lyrics are. Like, I mean, let's be honest, please don't make this a pull quote, but he can't sing. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's like,
in
he's
the
not,
best way.
and like, please don't let this be Martin said Ian Curtis was a shit singer, right?
It's okay. I would not, no.
Because he can't sing. He really has. It was all vibe, but like, and vibe can only get you so far. The things that he was saying were incredibly special, and like, and they for a fact they couldn't play either. They were terrible. They were all, everything was out of tune. Like everything was just like kind of haphazard, but for whatever reason, that man, that figure at the center of that band, alongside the ramshackle, saying the things that he was saying, made it so special.
Yeah, and I think that's like, people think about poetry as like a high art, you know, middle class and above thing, but I feel like some of the best poetry is written by working class people about their lives, because you actually you're writing about things in a really specific way that people can understand. And like, when I step back and I'm like, who are my favorite singers, like so many of them can't fucking sing in like the traditional sense, you know what I mean? Like, I definitely can sit and go down YouTube holes of like amazing vocal exercise, and I'm like, oh wow, but that's more like academic. It doesn't really make me feel anything. And when I think about like, what did I love when I was like 15, it was like Bright Eyes, Death Cab for Cutie, and things I've like, I would like really idiosyncratic, interesting voices, but they would be like totally shunned by what people think is a traditionally good singing voice. And those kinds of voices, when they're saying those kinds of things, when those voices are inside really good poets, I think it's just really special. Like Bob Dylan can't fucking sing, and he made a whole career out of being a terrible singer who can write amazing lyrics. So
yeah, and let's not even go there because I'm not a fan.
It's tricky. My boyfriend listens to it in the house all the time. Like Bob Dylan and Neil Young, two things that are always on repeat, and I'm like, oh my god, is someone stood on the cat? What's happening? Like, is she trapped under something?
Okay, I'll join in slagging Bob Dylan, but not Neil Young. I won't have Neil Young. Neil Young's fucking amazing.
I'm joking. I just mean like, that's how, like the academic arguments around music are so silly in so many ways, because it would have removed from musical history so many people that aren't traditionally, don't have traditionally attractive voices or traditionally good guitar playing or any of those things, and they become really iconic and influential because it speaks to people in a different way.
Yeah, it's the same as like instrumental players as well. Like I think about my favorite guitarists, and they're not the fucking technical shred lords, you know. That stuff makes you feel fucking nothing. It's not what music's about. Music's about, you know, as we already touched on, like communicating something authentically human, you know. It's about being connected with your emotions and connecting with other people's emotions and where they're at in life. It's got fuck all to do with technical proficiency.
It's unusual that there's someone that's really good that I like in any way. So like when I think, like, I mean, in terms of technicality, when I think about the music that I like, or the music that speaks to me, I don't think there's anyone that shows their level, if you know what I mean. Like, sure, like I just don't like really complicated music unless it's fucking classical music or something, or like, unless it's some weird electronic music that the computer made effectively, or a sequencer generated. That's cool. That's really complicated. There's nothing less interesting to me than some fucking old guy like like going so fast on the guitar. I just like I just couldn't. I'd rather watch fucking paint dry.
Yeah.
Rather watch Bob Ross.
I'd rather listen to Bob Dylan.
Wow.
Ooh. Well, I mean,
There's a
totally.
statement right there.
There's your full quote, mate.
I know. Martin said, "Oh yeah, Martin, Bob Dylan is shite." You know? And the Beatles are just all right. Next question.
Oh, come on.
Oh,
Let's-
this is a
let's move
conversation
on
for
from
a
this.
pub. They're gonna
This is
start.
a,
They're
this
gonna
is a pub
start.
fight, actually.
Yeah.
Bob Dylan shite. The Beatles are just all right. Next. No, I'm kidding.
You've broken Ian's heart.
I'm kidding. I don't know if you can tell this, Paolo, but I'm now just fully trolling Ian. I'm not. This isn't actually. This isn't a real opinion.
These conversations go back a long time.
Well, I'm so grateful that you guys got to sit down with me today. And before we wrap up, is there anything else that you guys would like to add about screen violence, about the future, pandemic, something new that we can expect?
Future pandemic? What do you know?
Well,
That's
I meant like in the future or back in the pandemic. I mean, we're still in it, so it's
Yeah.
the
It's
present.
Not
It's
done,
now.
is it?
Yeah.
When we put out the John Carpenter remix of Good Girls, we are also putting out our remix of his song on a 7-inch on Sacred Bones. So we like traded songs with the legend John Carpenter. That's
But yeah, isn't that mad? It's like a kind of punky remix swap that you would do.
Yeah.
That it's like with fucking John Carpenter. We're like, okay.
Well, we probably couldn't afford John Carpenter to remix our song, so he was like, "Well, if you do mine, we'll do yours," and we chose that option because I was like, "Well, I don't want to ask how much it is, but it's probably not cheap."
Yeah, you guys should do a full split EP. Just
Well, yeah.
three
I mean,
John
it's-
songs.
That's a good idea.
He made it like when we got it back, we were like, "Fuck, maybe this is better than the original one." It's like maybe it's more rocking, and I feel more like
Yeah.
amped when I listen to it. And we
They
we're
were-
like, "Mm."
They were blown away. He even does his own big sort of guitar solo moment towards the end. We were just like, what?
He was like, "Your guitar
Parks
solo
is
was
shredding
okay."
on our track.
But no, we're really excited for people to hear the record, and I hope that it can be a small moment of escapism for people. I think we all need a bit of that right now. But we're working on new music as well, so we're planning. For once, we're like ahead of the game. I don't know. Normally, we're like we finish an album, then they're like, "Let us rest." We have to
What day is it?
lie down under a rock for like a while. But this time
Thursday.
we're like, "Oh, there's no touring. There's nothing to do. Let's just go make more tunes."
I'm still hopeful that we can finish the album before this one comes out, which would actually be like an amazing milestone. But we'll see.
I feel like, yeah, we can get the house might not be decorated, but the house will be built by then.
It'll be built,
honestly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then we
yeah.
just go back and like, yeah, I think that'll be fine.
All right, like we can do like I'm not saying we can get finished everything on it. I would like to see an album like there. That would be cool. We're close.
Yes.
And but think about this. We finished the timeline got moved, like Lauren was saying earlier. Yeah, we were going to release it in 21, but it would have been early 21. So there's been 9 months of fucking sitting watching TV or like
I love
playing
TV.
video games or like
Making TikToks.
well, but for me, so when it's 9 months of watching TV, like I'm just Mr. I need to be in the studio. So naturally, that's 9 months of writing. This is like the same amount of time again as it took us to write the last one. So we've been trying a few things and like having some fun and working on some different projects, but then eventually became very focused on the next CHVRCHES thing. So it's closer than you might think. Let's put it that way.
Very cool. That's amazing. Well, thanks again, you guys, for sitting down with me. I do have to say, I'm sure you guys have gotten this before, but I'm a big runner, and Under the Tide is the best running. It's the best song to run to, I think, ever.
Is it?
I really would say.
It's got fast
because if
pace.
you are- yeah, but you know what? If you are towards the end of a run and you got the head up, keep holding your head up, it's like magic. It really is. So I have to say thank you for all of my
That's
many
cool.
runs that you folks have assisted me.
Oh, and the line is, "I'm watching you run from the sideline."
Oh,
You're
yeah.
literally running. Oh,
It's like you guys you had it in mind when you made it. But
That's cool.
oh. Well, we're happy to accompany you.
Well,
I really
only-
appreciate that.
I've retired from lead vocals. I've taken a sabbatical. But maybe we'll come back one day.
You
Maybe.
gotta come back, man.
I love the Martin songs. No, no offense, but I love the Martin
It's
songs.
fine. It's
I
fine.
think they
But
are,
do you know they weren't even supposed to be there. It was just like, oh, this song doesn't really work in this key, and we didn't know how to. Back in the day, we were like not good enough to fix it, or try understand new ways to make it work. And so we would just be like, oh well, you might as well just sing that. So that's how it came about.
And you did it as a kindness to me because I wasn't confident. I was like, if
Yeah,
it
and you
didn't
didn't
work,
wanna
I would
do
get
them all,
freaked out,
yeah.
and I didn't want. And I'd be like, oh, I don't know, maybe I just can't sing it. And then also I was like, I don't really want to be the only person on the stage the whole time. I think I'm going to vomit. So Martin was like, fuck's sake, I'll sing once. It's fine. So
That's
you were
actually
doing me a
true.
kindness so I could like panic breathe in the corner for a bit.
That's actually true. I think maybe it was because in your old band you'd shared vocals and stuff. Maybe it made you feel a little bit more
maybe.
comfortable.
I never thought about that. You were my makeshift Paul because Paul wasn't there anymore. Oh, well, he's
maybe
nice and you're nice. It's fine.
It's like you can only watch people go to the bar so many times during your songs before you're like, mate, people are here to see you. I don't want to do this.
But no, I don't. I feel like honestly, when I watch Under the Tide from the keyboard, I'm like, fuck. Everyone is like popping off to this.
Yeah,
shit.
exactly.
So maybe that one can be
They're not
the
going to the
exception.
bar.
We're allowed to keep.
We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see. We have to find that out today, actually.
You get a few popping off songs too. There's
Yes,
some...
yeah. I'm not hard done by any stretch, but I think there's some on a new album. When you bring a new album out, you're like, oh, really pushing this one along. When people are like, how is this song? Oh, I don't really know. And then towards the end of the album campaign, you're like, everybody knows this much better, so it's easier. But yes, at the beginning, it's still a lot of like, and here we go, like
we're doing it, yeah.
So, but yes, I mean, hopefully this time. I guess most of the time when we tour, it's right as the record comes out. So this time, by the time we get on the road, the album will have been out for a few months. So if we've all got time, I've got time to do my homework. The fans, I'm sure, will do their homework, and we will meet in the middle and we will sing Asking for a Friend, and I will probably sob, but I'll try not to because that'd be bad for singing.
And you'll tear the house down, as usual.
I like enthusiasm at Terminal 5, and you'll be there.
Yeah, we'll see you there.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much again for sitting down with me. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of August. I can't wait for the album to come out. Cheers and good luck.
Thanks, dude. You too.
Man.
Be safe, Adam. Nice to see you.
See you later.
Bye.